Well, a CBS News report about the election in Iran has raised some eyebrows. While reporting this weekend on Iran's presidential election, CBS News reporter Elizabeth Palmer compared some of the more extreme candidates in Iran to members of the Tea Party here in America. Listen.
He was seen as the most reform-minded of all the candidates who ran this time. That being said, they were all very conservative. In U.S. terms, it was as if all the candidates for the presidency came from the Tea Party.
Michelle Malkin is a columnist and a Fox News contributor. What does that say to you, Michelle?
You know, we have a term at Twitchy for these elitist snobs in the so-called mainstream media. We call them special snowflakes. They're so special. They're the ordained purveyors of truth who purport to know what is the accurate picture of politics in America. Elizabeth Palmer is a Canadian journalist based in London who thinks that she's giving a fair, balanced, and neutrally objective view of a comparison between Iranian mullahs and the Tea Party. It's beyond outrageous. And of course, the problem isn't so much bias in the media as it is the pretense of neutrality, and these people still don't get it.
It's interesting to me because it comes just as the CBS News anchor, Scott Pelley, comes out talking about journalism in this country and talks about how he believes that, first of all, not a lot of people watch cable news. They just don't. Well, we beat you in all the debates and on election night, Scott. But, okay, that's okay. So that's what Fox did. But separate and apart from that, Michelle, he talks about how the reason people would watch CBS News is because you need a name you can trust. He says, MSM, he says Fox is associated with the right, MS with the left. But when you're talking to 7 million viewers across the country like we are at CBS, you've got to represent everybody's views, and you have got to give them the impression that you're being as honest as you know how to be. I mean, he makes that at the same time this reporter makes this comment about the Tea Party. Yeah,
let's unpack a little bit of that. Give the impression that you are fair and balanced, as if delivering the news is a Monet painting. No. I think what we have to remember about CBS News, of course, is, and I love the quip from Sarah Palin. You did a fabulous job, by the way, this morning on Fox and Friends, Megyn.
Thank you.
That CBS took, it puts the BS in CBS. Well, CBS News took the news out of CBS News a long time ago, and nobody should forget when we're talking about media and distortion that CBS was the king of manufacturing news. These are people who accused the people who debunked Rathergate of being, quote, partisan political operatives. Talk about the worst kind of psychological projection there. When we talk about I've talked a long time now as someone who's had a foot in both new media and old media about the extended death cry of snob journalism, and CBS has been at the forefront of that. Scott Pelley's comments deriding and mocking his competitors in cable news just shows you how much these people chafe at effective competition. They hate it.
And the thing on the Tea Party is, I mean, like, it's just sort of accepted. Like, there's been no apology for what she said. Maybe she misspoke. Maybe she got out too far ahead of her skis. Maybe CBS News doesn't back those comments. But could we know that? You know, that's very easily corrected or spoken to. And without that, it leaves the impression that we're okay with that. We are okay with that. And that is the version that we've seen so often in the mainstream media of representing everybody's views.
Yeah. Well, look, the ultimate accountability is in your remote control, and people are voting with their fingers. And despite Scott Pelley's warped media math there, I think those numbers and the ratings for Fox News speak for themselves. And there we go again. Here he is. Didn't he just a couple of months ago talk about how his quote-unquote house was on fire? He himself admitting many of the things that he'd gotten wrong. Again, it's not so much that people get things wrong in the news. That will happen in any kind of news cycle where you're rushing to get things on the air. The problem is the pretending of these people that they are somehow better than the average viewer and better than their competitors. You're not. There's a news flash for you, CBS.
The irony too is that as he's talking about how, you know, people make mistakes and the cable nets make these mistakes, and he owned up to a couple of his own mistakes, but you know, he was putting it on cable, and he was talking about, well, you know, as far as cable goes, they only have 200,000 viewers. They only have 200, 300,000 viewers. And the interviewer specifically asked him, now that's not true. I mean, we've got 5 times that many just on this show, but they asked him about Hannity and O'Reilly, who are 2 huge powerhouses in news. I mean, the biggest names in news on cable. And he stuck by those numbers. O'Reilly on a given night averages around 4 million between his show and his repeat. I mean, and it's just ignored. I mean, he's telling people misinformation, and for what? Why is that necessary? Why can't he just say that guy's a big star, he's got a huge following, very successful, both of them. Instead, he's got to diminish, and there's a question about trustworthiness.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, that question has been there for years now, and I think he didn't do himself any service now as the heir to Dan Rather. He sure is filling those shoes pretty well, the propagation of lies and smears. But let me just draw a little bigger picture here, because it isn't just about CBS versus the Tea Party. If you'll recall, over the last several years, the hit pieces and the targeting are on par with what the government has been doing. You look at ABC and how they tried to tie the Tea Party to the Sandy Hook Newtown massacre, or NPR, which was caught undercover by investigative journalist James O'Keefe, trashing the Tea Party, calling them racist and bigoted and intolerant. And once again, all they're really doing is holding a mirror to themselves and showing just how uncomfortable they are with people who disagree with their views. And ultimately, of course, it's going to bite them in their own backsides when it comes to competition in the marketplace. They lose, we win.
The Tea Party has taken a lot of incoming since they were born, a lot of incoming. I mean, at the highest levels of government, as we saw with the whole IRS scandal. And it just continues, Michelle. Thank you for being here.
You bet.